Hi, welcome back. Before I go into this signature, I have to totally embarrass myself. I mean, totally embarrass myself. And before I start getting a bunch of messages, what a ninny I am, I have to tattle on myself. We just played with the front of this album, and I used a lot of ephemera. And I think I mentioned when I was building it that I didn't know if these were adhesive or not. And I even tried to get the backing off and was unsuccessful. Well, guess what? These are adhesive, and it just takes a little bit more of a thumbnail or the tip of a craft knife or something to peel it away. So I've already got these all glued on here, and I tried to lift them, but then I thought I'm going to stop because it doesn't do me any good. I'm still going to have the white backing. So it is what it is. It's not going anywhere. These are stuck to their backing. The backing's glued down, but I'm just so fundamentally embarrassed. I just don't know what I was thinking. So there, please don't send me any hate mail. God, please. Let's get on. Let's move with this one. This is the inside panel. Your left inside panel, and this is where we're going to be covering up some of this brown, and we're going to have a nice just a little brown trim around the edge. Now, before I got started, there's a couple of scraps that I took. I cut a 1/2-inch strip for each of the gussets, and then I cut 3/8 of a strip for each of the pages right along the seam line. That's my stopgap. I don't want to be encroaching in on this folded seam, and I don't want to be encroaching in here on this folded seam. So I'm using these as my guide for how far this way or this way I want to place the signature. I don't ever want it crossing over or getting so far in here, because what happens then when you turn the pages, you've got that bump and they're going to do this. So I back up a little bit. That allows the page to continue to lay over. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Now I'm going to just dig back in here. So your main piece is going to be out of the backgrounds and solids, I think is what it's called. I don't trust myself anymore. It's just backgrounds, okay? So it's got gold filigree on both sides and a little bit across the top. So you're going to measure this, and don't pay attention to what I'm measuring. You're going to measure this at 8 7/8. I made a cutting error, and I'm going to have to fix it here. But your piece is going to be 8 7/8. And then the width is going to be 8 5/8. So how I'm going to fix my shortfall here is I generally do a pocket. I'm just going to drop this pocket down about 1/4 inch when I go to secure it in, and then I'll get my 8 7/8 in my height. And I don't want to tape it yet until I'm ready to put the whole assembly together. Off of one of your cuttings that you're going to be doing here shortly, there is this strip, which I forgot to ink. And or you can use any scrap. So as I make this album, if there is something I'm doing that you wouldn't do because it's not your style, change it. It's your album once you start building it, and just because I do something a certain way doesn't mean that you have to. But I love the contrast. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to add, I'm using a die that I have, and there is a name for this die. I will put it down in the description field for you in case you want to try and find it. Then I'm going to add a little bling here. And then I cut these circle emblems out. I backed it on some cardstock. That's going to go here. And then I fussy cut out the walnut. It's going to go up here. Okay, that bling's gonna go for later. So let's go ahead and let's get to assembling. And I am going to turn this over because I need to drop this about 1/4 of an inch. I'm trying to think how best to, I know. That was, that was such an error I made, and I'm going, what did I do? Okay, so this is my top piece. I want to come down about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to line this up on my grid here. And then I'm just going to drop this about 1/4 of an inch all the way across. Okay. And then I'll just apply some tape here when I get ready. In fact, I'm just going to do some now because otherwise I'm going to have this silly thing sticking to my countertop. So I am just going to glue that down now. All right. I got some glue overhang. We'll take care of that later. So let's go ahead and let's put this on. I have a subscriber that follows me and is in the process of making, I think, 1 or 2 of my albums. But I have to giggle with her because she's having such a delight, and we message a lot. So it's kind of fun to have your subscribers, your followers, enjoying themselves. Okay, let's get some bling on here. The bling that I'm using has a mesh backing on it, so it makes it really kind of easy to put them in here. I just feel like my rhythm is out of sorts on this signature, so I hope in the end that it turns out okay. All right, so we're gonna put the bling down. Gotta have some silver bling. And I missed the tape on that entirely. But it is, in my defense, a little hard to see. There we go. We'll save that for later. Where did my little circle piece go? Now, there's 3 of these, I do believe, so just pick one or pick anything out of your cut-aparts. I don't think there's a word saying that would fit this narrow. All right, and then my little fussy cut walnut. Oops. Okay. Let's put him at an angle. So he looks like he's hanging there and having a good time. All right, so that gets us together with this one. All right, so now moving inward, you're going to have 2 panels. Already wrote it down. you're going to have two panels that are going to be 4 7/8 by 9 inches. Now, your panel measurements will always be bigger than the pages because we're covering the chipboard panel, and then the pages are going to be about 1/8 of an inch shorter. So when I start giving you the pages and this measurement drops, don't panic. All right, so you're going to have 4 7/8 by 9, and you're going to do a 1/2 inch score, and you're going to want to have 2 of these. And we are just going to go ahead and get this put on. I guess I didn't need, well, I'm okay with that. One of these days I'll find an excuse, a valid excuse for my goofiness. Okay, and then this is the next panel. And you'll notice I'm using paper clips. It's the only way I can help keep myself organized, because I've got a lot of moving parts here, and I don't want, come on, Charlie. I don't want to get them all mixed up, and I have in the past gotten my panels mixed up because I didn't keep them where they were supposed to be. So I'm using paper clips for that purpose. Fold that back over. All right, so you should be square on this. Oh, I got to fix that. Oh, I got to fix it on both sides. All right, what just happened was I got a little bit of a pushback due to the bling I put in. So this got wider, and I've got my tape showing, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to peel this back a little bit and replace it, make it a little bit tighter so that that tape isn't showing. And then I'm going to go do it over here. It happens when you're working with bulk. Okay, this is just going to come right off. I'll fix it. Like I said, it happens when you're working with bulky items on your seams. Come on. Let me in there. So this is one of those learning mistakes that I think I mentioned. Now this I'm just going to push under to get rid of that extra tape that's showing there. And then I can put it back down. But I'm going to have to re-secure this. Okay, I think we're okay. All right. I have mended the wounded. Okay. All right, so for the inside here, from your patterns pack, you're going to have a sheet that has the checkered, squared items, and then it's got wording on the other side. We're using this side of it. And anytime I am covering a flap, it is trim to fit. I do different measurements. A lot of what I do is eyeballing, so it's going to be just the most oddest, cut it to this microscopic piece of an inch. So I'm not going to do that to you. Just trim it to fit to your eye, what you want. And if you love measurements and you've got to be perfect on your measurements, by all means do so. I'm leaving roughly about 1/16 of an inch all the way around. That's what I like to see. I don't like seeing big wide things like this. I like to see, this should just be a hint. The cardstock should just be an accent, just a nice hint. Okay, so let's move on. You're gonna need some magnets pretty quick, so if you have them handy, great. If you don't, you might want to reach for them when you get a chance. And now I'm going to do this side. Okay. Now, in your packet, there is a sheet that has some circles on it. So I ran mine through the die machine, and then I used another die to cut the cardstock. I really wish I could find a die that would give me a look like this. But when you're going through your circle dies, this comes just before this. But there is such a gap. So that's why here I have a larger edge than I preferably want to see. And these are going to go here. They're going to be put here at the top. And then on the opposing page, this one, I ran through the die machine, and I hand cut this because I wanted to leave the edges. Nope, that's the wrong side. And then these are going to go on like this, and then we're going to put this one down here so that we've got opposing edges. These are going to become tucks, so it leaves you a nice spot here to put a photo. So I'm going to go ahead and get these glued down. If anyone out there uses nesting dies and you have mastered the secret of use this brand and this brand, you'll get your small, I'd be open to getting a message. It comes to me via email. Just drop a line down below. I've got 3 different sets, and I just can't bridge this gap. It just crazy for me. All right, a little bit of tape. This one's going to be on the bottom, so I'm going to run a little bit of tape here. And that's going to go there, and a little bit of tape for this one up here. Now when I put this down, what I'm looking for is roughly the same all the way around so that this is in there kind of balanced. And then I'll do the same thing for this one down here. I'm just gonna look to see that, get that tape under there, look to see that it's balanced in here. Okay, close. Now here, back into your pattern, your backgrounds, you're going to have a piece that's going to have, it's going to look like this, and it's going to look like this. So you're going to cut the moon off, you're going to trim to fit, you're going to cut the moon off, and then you're going to cut left to right. So this is cutting, excuse me, I said that wrong. You're going to cut it right, going towards the left, because this is the panel I want. And then to keep this tree and the sequence, you're going to cut right to left again. And then this is the piece you're going to have left over. We may use this as a pocket, so set it aside. Then in your chipboard pieces, we have this beautiful little tree. It's going to sit right down there. And we're going to put a star up over here to replace the moon. And then, or if you want, you can put the star over here, or don't put a star. That's entirely up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and guess. Now, again, I ink my edges. It's a beautiful, warm sepia. What is it called? Vintage sepia. There's some nice browns in this, and it helps to complement, pulls the images and the colors out very nicely. I still can't believe I did that on the front of the album. I'm such a... I don't want to say what I'm thinking. I'd get banned. Okay, we're going to put the tree down. And again, this is out of your chipboard. You can fussy cut. If you want a lighter feel, you can fussy cut out the tree that is on your cut-aparts page. I like to create some depth. Okay, so we're just going to stick this up here in this corner. All right. Now, the next panels. I know I wrote the measurement down somewhere. Okay, you're going to have two that are going to measure 9 inches in the height, and it's going to be 5 in your width. You're going to have a 1/2 inch score, a 5/8 of an inch score. You're going to want 2 of them, and this is where the magnets are going to come in at. So let's turn this over. You're going to come right up to that 1/2 inch score mark. And then the same here. I'm going to pull this back just a little bit. Okay. Now for these inside panels, there is a sheet in your backgrounds that has some windows, and it will have this piece in the center. We're going to cut these out. So this one over here, you're going to cut right to left to fit your panel. And this one over here, you're going to, you now have this. You're now going to cut left to right for this panel, leaving you with this piece. And we will be using this at some point. I just don't know where, so don't get rid of that. Hold on to it. Oh, gosh, I forgot to tell you. This is really important. It's right here in front of me. Okay, so when you put this back together, to get the height, I had to trim off 1 1/4 inches off the base and 2 inches off the top. So these would be the scrap pieces that you will have left over. Again, 1 1/4 inches off the bottom of this piece of paper and then 2 inches off the top so that you can get these images here. All right. And before we do anything with that, we need to add our magnets. Where am I? I will have a link down below for magnets that you can get at Scrap and Create. It's the basic gray magnets. I just at this point happen to be out, so I'm using mine, so please don't pay any attention. Okay, we're going to close this. Flip it over. You're going to need 4 magnets and let them find their mate. Okay. Ta-da. All right, now getting back to the inside. Okay, so the sconces will be here to the inside. So what my vision was, or what my thought process is you're inside the house looking out through the windows, and off in the distance is this. So that's why I did it that way. I like to try and create a story, if you will. Okay, there's that one. I had a cutting error. I had cut to one of the smaller pages and then went, oh no. So that's why there's tape on there. But you know what? When I turn this over, you can't even see the seam. So I'm okay with that. All right, let's get these in here. Trying to line up across the bottom, the top. Now, I have a little bit of tape overhang here. I didn't get it on there straight. So bear with me while I roll it back under here. Get in there. Be real careful that when you lay in your pieces that you're not laying them on top of your gusset mark. Because it will create folding issues if you've laid on top of that SCOR in the gusset. Okay, so that's now that inside build. Closes. Now we're working with the outside of this signature, and this will be in your patterns, and it is the it's this one. So I ended up cutting across here at the top, and it just looks like it's just a real bright spot in the sky, so it's not interfering with anything. So just in case, my piece measured in at just, see, this is where I get into these goofy measurements. It's just a hair over 8 3/4. But that's, now if I took it down to the 8 3/4, to my eye, it would not look balanced. But this is what we're going to have here, okay? This is folding over. There we go. All right, so we get this on here. Then I've taken out of the chipboard, there's this piece that says Magic Night. We're going to put that right up there. And I've got some bling. You can't have a Christmas book, you can't have Christmas without Christmas lights across the top of your house, your home, where you work. So I'm going to be taking some bling, and I'm going to be going across the top. So you're going to have to bear with me as I trim and cut and put that on there. Now it's more important to me right now that this line looks correctly. I may end up with a bigger border here, but that doesn't bother me so much as the internal where the pages come together. I think this is such a sweet image. I'm going to use this. You watch. I'll find a place to use it. Okay. I'm way off on my trim over here. But I didn't say I was perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to run a little bead of glue there in between and across the top. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to cut that off. And then this is going to take 3 of them. Gotta have bling on the house. And then this is going, I'm just gonna go this way with it. Bypass the chimneys. Okay. Now we're going to add some bling. Bypassing the chimney. That looks like that's about 4. If it's not, I'll trim it. Ah, it's only 3. slopping my glue all over the place. And I just wiped that off. Boy, I'm making a mess out of myself here. Oh, come on. Now, if you want to get fancy, you could run a line here. That is a rooftop. The only reason I'm not doing that is then I feel like I have to do that one. Maybe I'll come back and do it later, but there we have our bling across the top of the roof. And there was one last little item. And that is this little bag of goodies that I got from Scrap and Create when they sent this to me. There is a little brass Christmas tree, and I'm going to set it right here in front of this arch. I'm just going to fill the well here with, I think I'm going to chuck this bottle. I struggle with the flow on this, and it doesn't matter how hard I squeeze, it just does not want to come out. And when you've got arthritis in your fingers, this hurts. So I think that's the last time I'm going to use that particular jar. So I set it right here, right in front of that archway. In the garbage. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's get the tape put on the back. And when I tape, I like to use a fairly wide tape. This is 5/8 of an inch. I want to make sure that I've got good tape coverage, that it's going to hold this album down, or this signature down into the album. I don't want it lifting, so to me there's never enough tape. But I don't go too crazy. All right, so the 3/8 of an inch roll. I'm going to lift these, and I'm going to add tape right over the top of them. This will be my center support. Okay, let's put our first signature into the book. So when we set this in here, I'm going to bring it right to this edge. And you can see where my little warning light is. So I know I'm not encroaching on the gusset, and this will turn over just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off, but I am going to turn this on its side here so that I can see 3 of the 4 sides for lining up. I'm going to get in here, give this a burnish, and then I'm going to start peeling the rest of the tape off. Now, if this is the first time you're hanging with me, why didn't I take all the tape off? Well, it's because I have too many times laid it down too quickly and did not have it centered, or it slipped. The tape I'm using in the center, even though I burnished, for some reason, I had a twist, and it took a lot of undo to get all this tape lifted. So I just take it one strip at a time. Now, if you're brave, go right ahead. If you use glue, and it's a type of glue that does not set up fast, but it allows you some time to wiggle around, use it. Making sure that the gusset is straight and it's not collapsing on me on either end, and then push that down. And then we're going to open this up and burnish. Get the air pockets out, get that tape down onto the album base. All right, so here we have a couple of tucks. We've got a nice spot here for some photos, and you've got a nice tuck in here. And then we have this image going on here. And there you go. So that's our first signature. I hope to see you when we come back for this one. Until then, bye-bye.